everyone. Welcome back to Let's Speak English, your go-to English podcast for learning English and improving your life. I'm Erin, and as always, I'm joined by my fantastic co-host, Evan. Evan, how are you doing today?
Hey, Erin. I'm doing great, feeling energized and ready for today's topic. And you? How are things?
Great, too. Honestly, I had a moment yesterday where I stopped and asked myself, why do some people completely reinvent their lives while others stay frozen in the same spot?
Oh, I've wondered that too. You watch someone go from barely getting by to thriving, and you wonder, what's the trick? Luck? Or are they doing something differently?
Exactly. That made me think back to when I first learned English. In the beginning, it felt overwhelming. Endless vocabulary, endless rules. But slowly, piece by piece, it started to click.
Exactly right. When I started out, I kept telling myself more words means fluency. But it was never only about vocabulary. It came down to habits, mindset, and actually applying what I studied.
And that's the moment it clicked for me. Life works the same way. Real transformation doesn't happen in a flash. It isn't one massive decision. It's the small adjustments we make day after day. And that's precisely our focus today: how to transform your life. Before we dive in, we've got something special waiting for you. We've put together a free PDF filled with hands-on exercises to help you take real, actionable steps toward changing your life.
Inside, the main points from today's talk, comprehension questions, and grammar drills to build your confidence with English. And there's more. We're also weaving in some intermediate level vocabulary throughout today's episode.
That's true. And later on, we'll dig deeper into those terms in Charlotte's vocabulary section, where Charlotte will unpack the meanings and show you how to use them in everyday conversation. So stick around. By the end, you'll walk away with practical strategies for changing your life, plus fresh vocabulary to communicate even more clearly.
You know, Erin, reflecting on what we just discussed, how life shifts gradually over time, it makes me curious why so many people find it so hard to actually follow through with those shifts.
That's such a good question. Change seems thrilling in theory, doesn't it? A clean slate, a brand new chapter. But the reality is, most people never truly follow through. Why not? Because change is genuinely difficult. Let's break down the most common reasons people get stuck.
Right. First up is the fear of failing. So many people wonder, what happens if I try and it doesn't work out? But what if it does work out? Every person who succeeded has stumbled along the way. What sets them apart is they didn't stop.
Exactly. The second reason is not having a clear direction. Some people know they want something better, but have no idea where to begin. They assume they need a flawless plan before they can move forward.
Then there's harmful self-talk. Thoughts like, I'll never manage this, or I'm just not built for languages. These beliefs shut down progress before it even starts.
And finally, one of the sneakiest traps of all: waiting around for motivation. People say, I'll get started once I feel inspired. But here's the secret. Motivation shows up after you take action, not the other way around.
That reminds me of a personal struggle I once had. I kept holding out for the ideal moment to begin. But that moment never showed up until I simply took the very first step.
And the moment I did, everything else began to click into place.
That's such a great insight. I felt the exact same way when I was learning English. At first, I told myself, I'm not good at this. But then it hit me. The only path to improvement was to actually get started.
Exactly. And that leads us to today's core lesson. Recognizing what's holding you back is the very first step toward transforming your life. Once you spot these obstacles, you can start dismantling them. So, Evan, Now that we've covered what keeps people stuck, the next question becomes, how do we actually begin making these shifts?
That's where small, everyday improvements come into play. People often assume they need some dramatic overhaul overnight, but real transformation unfolds gradually.
Are you familiar with the 1% rule?
Yes, improving by just 1% each day means you'll be 37 times better after a year. That's because tiny efforts stack up over time, much like compound interest in a savings account.
Exactly. And that connects directly to the power of habits. James Clear explores this in Atomic Habits, how our habits actually shape our identity.
Small shifts might not seem big at first, but over time, they reshape who you become.
Right. Things like reading 10 minutes daily, practicing English 5 minutes a day, or swapping negative thoughts for positive ones. I love examples from real life, too. I know someone who reached fluency in English just by listening to podcasts every day.
They never followed an intense study schedule, just steady, small steps. That's so encouraging. The lesson here is that small, steady actions add up to major results over time. So if you're wondering where to begin, just choose one small habit today.
Exactly. And you know, Aaron, while taking action matters a lot, there's something even more essential underneath it: our mindset.
Because honestly, how we think about change shapes everything else.
Absolutely. There's a concept called growth mindset versus fixed mindset. Someone with a growth mindset believes, I'm capable of improving. Someone with a fixed mindset believes, I'll never get good at this. That's a massive difference. And here's another thing. Our brains are naturally wired to notice whatever we train them to focus on.
Have you ever heard of the reticular activating system, or RAS?
Yes, it explains why once you learn a new word, you suddenly start noticing it everywhere. Your brain sorts information based on what you're paying attention to. So if you keep repeating, I can't do this, your brain will go looking for proof that it's true. But if you tell yourself, I'm improving every single day, your brain will start noticing that progress instead.
That's why rewiring your thinking is so powerful. 3 great ways are affirmations, visualization, and gratitude.
Right. Positive self-talk, like I'm getting better each day, helps reshape how we think. Visualization, picturing yourself succeeding, convinces your brain that success is genuinely possible. And don't underestimate gratitude. Focusing on what's already going well trains your brain to spot opportunities rather than obstacles.
That's the true power of mindset. It's not some kind of magic. It's simply training your brain to work in your favor instead of against you.
So true. Now that we've really covered the power of mindset, there's one more thing that holds people back: waiting around for the right moment to begin. Yes! So many people convince themselves they need to feel completely prepared before taking action. But the truth is, you'll never feel 100% ready. Exactly. Confidence comes after progress, not before it. When I was learning English, I held back from speaking because I didn't feel ready. I kept thinking, what if I mess up? But the longer I waited, the tougher it got.
That's so relatable. But once you finally took that leap, what happened?
Well, once I actually started speaking, I realized that mistakes were simply part of the process. Every conversation, errors included, built my confidence. I wasn't flawless, but I improved.
And that's the whole point. There's a phrase I really love. Done is better than perfect. Too many people put off action because they're waiting for the perfect conditions. But honestly, taking imperfect action always beats taking no action at all.
Right. Wait for perfection and you'll never start. Whether it's learning English, building a new habit, or making a major life shift, just get moving. Small steps eventually lead to big improvements.
So here's a quick challenge for our listeners. Think of something you've been putting off. Maybe it's practicing your English, starting a new exercise routine, or asking someone for support.
And then take one small step today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today. Because action creates momentum, and momentum builds confidence.
That's exactly right. Small, steady actions over time lead to massive change. So don't hold out for the perfect moment. Make today the day you finally begin.
Speaking of taking action, have you ever thought about how much our surroundings influence our habits and choices? It's not just about what we do, but who and what we choose to surround ourselves with.
Absolutely. The people around you, the content you take in, and the mindset you adopt all shape your life in a big way.
Yes. There's a well-known saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're constantly surrounded by negative, unmotivated people, staying motivated becomes a struggle.
Yes, there's a well-known saying, you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. If you're constantly surrounded by negative, unmotivated people, staying motivated becomes a struggle. But around driven, positive people, their energy and habits naturally rub off on you.
That's so true. So, how do we build an environment that supports growth? Start by following people who inspire you. Whether that's authors, speakers, or certain social media accounts, surrounding yourself with positive influences gradually shifts your mindset.
Absolutely. And joining online learning communities is another fantastic way to stay motivated. There are countless groups out there for English learners, book lovers, and personal growth enthusiasts. Being part of a community that values growth naturally pushes you to grow too.
And it's just as important to reduce your exposure to negativity as it is to add positive influences. That might mean less time with people who complain constantly, or cutting back on negative news and social media that drain your energy.
That reminds me of when I was learning English. I felt stuck until I found an English learning community. Suddenly, I had people to practice with, share challenges with, and celebrate wins with.
That changed everything. What a great example. The right environment builds momentum, which makes growth and consistency so much easier.
So here's something to consider. Who are the 5 people you spend most of your time with? Are they pushing you forward, or are they keeping you stuck? If they're not challenging you to grow, it might be time for a change.
Surround yourself with people and influences that inspire and lift you up. And speaking of inspiration, new words and phrases can help us express our goals and mindset even more clearly. That's exactly why we've brought Charlotte in to break down some key vocabulary from today's conversation.
Hello, English learners. Time for Charlotte's vocabulary breakdown. In today's episode, Aaron and Evan covered some powerful ideas about change, mindset, and environment. Let's take a closer look at some key vocabulary and how to apply it in everyday conversations. And that wraps up today's vocabulary breakdown. Back to you, Aaron and Evan.
Thank you, Charlotte. Those were some genuinely useful words and phrases. So, Evan, if we had to leave our listeners with just one takeaway from today's episode, what would it be?
I'd say this. You have far more control over your life than you might think. Small changes, the right mindset, and a supportive environment can completely reshape your life.
That's so true. And remember, progress doesn't happen overnight, but every step you take brings you closer to where you want to be. And don't forget to grab our free PDF guide from today's episode. It's loaded with practical exercises and vocabulary to lock in what you've learned. Also, tell us in the comments, what's one small change you're making today? We genuinely love to hear from you.
And if you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe, share it, and leave us a review.
Let's keep growing together. See you next time on Let's Speak English.